And so we're going to be talking about the Superman trailer. Superman, rocking the t-shirt. Tony has got the Superman background, and Scott is a mild-mannered reporter here.
He's got the Clark Kent background going.
Doing my best Clark Kent impersonation for sure.
Well, man, you totally nailed it. Totally nailed it. Well, I'm excited about talking about this trailer that dropped, talking about the teaser that dropped. Have you guys both seen it? I'm guessing you have at this point.
I did watch it once.
Yeah. And so I've got a clip of it here. We can always go to it if we need to. But there's a lot of buzz around it. Superman is one of those movies and characters that they keep reimagining, putting it out there. And for a lot of people, they feel they've never really nailed it, or they're just Christopher Reeve. He's the one that nailed it, and nobody else can even come close ever again for now and forever. So, what are your first thoughts about Superman?
Well, I guess before we get into the commentary, we should play the clip so that other people maybe watching this can see what we're seeing before we talk about it.
Yeah, I've got it here. I'll pull it up. And yeah, this is one of the things that I talked about is, this is going to be, at least for this particular campfire chat, it's going to be the fans, the nerds, and the geeks. And I see them as three different things. And this is my own definition. I did not check with ChatGPT or anything else, but my definition is a fan is kind of what I am. I just kind of love the genre. I think a geek is somebody that goes a little deeper, maybe goes to a Comic-Con, maybe dresses up every now and then, has some comics, action figures, games, maybe whatever. And a nerd is the person that, if you want to know what happened in comic 32 with Super,
stats, they know the stats,
they know the details. And so I'm the fan. Which one are you guys?
I'd say I'm a semi fan. I'm a curiously interested fan. That's what I would say.
I'm interested in all things superheroes and supernatural and sci-fi, although I gotta say I'm more of a Marvel guy. So
yeah, well, that's okay. You can stay for the rest of this.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
They've nailed it, by the way. All right, so let's watch this trailer. Can you hear audio on that?
Music is off.
Yeah, I can't.
I wonder how it was playing every time I tested it.
This was a big shocker, right? When Superman is bleeding, that's something different that we haven't seen.
Yeah,
that is a new version of Superman we haven't seen before. Well, I do not know how to.
It's only music, anyways. There's no.
True
dialogue. So
it seems like the colors really pop in this trailer and in this version of the Superman universe. Very different than the last few movies.
Yeah, DC has always been dark and kind of the evil. Marvel's always been bright and happy. So it looks like they're kind of adopting that.
Yeah, and what I've noticed too is the back, the photos that we've seen behind the scenes. His costume looks a lot lighter, and here it looks a lot darker when it comes to the trailer.
And of course, the introduction of the dog. I believe this is the first Superman movie that's had the dog, right?
For sure.
Yeah. I think the dog has been in TV shows. I think he was in Smallville, and I think he was in what is it, Lois and Superman and Lois, or whatever the show was. I never watched that one a whole lot.
You got the Green Lantern.
Yeah. Does anybody know? When we'll talk about it, what that orb is or who that guy is.
This scene right here made me laugh because it looks like she's about to kiss him, and she basically keeps him in the friend zone.
Though that is the same room that he is then putting his clothes on. So that is, I do wonder what that's all about.
Yeah.
Now that we've watched the trailer, we haven't heard it, but it was amazing music. Well, let's start about the music. I mean, we didn't hear it in this, but what did you guys think of the music and the reimagining of it?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it's obviously a throwback to the John Williams score from the Christopher Reeve Superman, and I don't think there's a more iconic version of the musical score out there. So I like what they did with it, at least
Yeah.
initially.
Agree with that. Very retro and cinematic. They just kind of spiffed it up. It sounded really nice. I'm sure we'll hear that same song throughout the entire movie,
Throughout
and just different speeds and
Right.
different, intensities.
Right. Well, and I think a good sampling of that is the teaser that they released a couple of days ago, where it almost sounded like a blend of Hans Zimmer with John Williams. You know, the initial one where everybody's taking photos and stuff. If you listen to that, it almost starts off with a similar vibe to Cavill's Superman, and then you hear, oh wait, oh my goodness, it's the John Williams, and so I think they did a good job of merging the two in the teaser. Sup, Jason? And so they did a good job of like merging those two things in the teaser. But I do love that they go with the John Williams. And for me, one of the reasons is and I was when Jason and I were talking about this, is you can hum the Williams theme, but try and hum the Hans Zimmer. Like, you can't. Now, if you hear it, you recognize it, right? But it doesn't have a obvious, this is that Superman thing that you can hum it, right? And I think that plays a big part in branding too.
Absolutely. Yeah. This version, the John Williams original version, has that earworm quality, right? It stays with you for a while.
Right.
Do you want to go back through it and look at different frames and talk about each scene, or?
Absolutely. Well, let me pull that up. Luckily, I do have a PDF that allows us to do that. And so here's one shot, and these are not in any particular order, but we do have this shot. And so, Mr. Terrific, for those that might know more, is there anything that you're seeing in this that might be a hint of something else?
No.
It seems like the costuming in this particular movie is really trying to give you that comic book vibe. You know, a lot of these movies go for a more realistic feel. But again, I think this is something that Marvel has done successfully, and DC is now attempting to emulate that, and that's the comic book feel of a live action movie.
Right. Yeah, they're not afraid to say we are a comic book movie. You know, we're not trying to be gritty and real and whatever, but they're okay with being a comic book movie. And I think with Superman having underpants, I think that kind of plays a part in that as well. Is not afraid of that, which is one of the things that they had not done. One of the things that I noticed about this is the purple and the green, and I don't know what that harkens to. I'm not that much of a geek or a nerd to know, but I'm sure there's significance in the fact that these people, these armored people that are fighting Mr. Terrific, are in the purple and the green.
What's a good synopsis of Mr. Terrific and his superpowers? I'm not real familiar with that superhero.
He's basically like Bruce Wayne. He's super intelligent and super rich, and his superpower is that he can learn new skills, new intelligence at an astoundingly fast rate.
Okay. Is he a genuine human being, or is he augmented in some way? Does he have actual superpowers?
I think he's kind of along the lines of Batman and Iron Man.
Okay, so this is all
He has
manufactured
technology.
tech. Gotcha.
Yeah, he has technology.
Okay.
So I wonder that feel that's around him is, I guess it's whoever this is.
Probably technology on his suit or something, you know.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah.
are you
Go
hearing
ahead.
my mic?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear it. Yep.
All right, cool. I was just going to go back to your comment a second ago about the comic book look and feel, and you definitely have that comic book vibe when Crypto shows up. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's not comic book come to life, I don't know what is. Which was
Right.
kind of fun and interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and definitely. And so I do have a screenshot of that. So we can talk about that. What do you guys feel about bringing crypto into it?
I think it's a risk.
Yeah, I think it's gonna entertain children. They're gonna want to see it because of the dog.
Yeah.
I know it does
I
have
think it's
geeks and nerds upset because it's not a Labrador.
well, I think it's a risk, right? Because it depends on what the tone of the movie is, and from the trailer, it seems to be that they want us to take this Superman seriously. They want us to take this world seriously. So introducing a flying dog is risky, especially in the first movie. I mean, obviously in Marvel you have Rocket the Raccoon and all of that, but that was introduced much later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to figure, James Gunn directed all of those Guardians movies, so he's played around in this world, and it's been successful to have Rocket and even Groot, is a far-fetched sort of character, and so if he can make it work in those movies, maybe he can make Crypto work as well.
Do you think he has a big part in it, or is he going to be just a small portion of what's going on? Like, is it going to be always a doggy Superman type buddy
Looks
movie?
like he saves Superman's life here. So
yeah. I think the dog's going to be comedy break. I think there's going to be scenes where the dog does something hilarious and makes people laugh. It's going to be the raccoon.
Yeah. Well, and I think they chose also a super cute little scrappy dog, as opposed to a big, maybe a Labrador or whatever.
Kind of a mutt, right?
Yeah, kind of a little cuter type mutt that I think makes it a little more adorable. Like you guys have mentioned, the Rocket Raccoon type thing.
Should we start a betting pool if there's going to be a scene where Superman is walking Crypto and has to pick up his poop in a pooping bag and all of that stuff? I mean,
there is going to be some scene where somebody encounters his superness,
or even worse, they revert to old DC and the dog dies at the end of the movie.
That would be too soon, man. That would be too soon.
Yeah, don't rule it out. Don't rule it out.
Yeah. Well, somebody had mentioned that, it being family friendly. One thing that I thought about as I was going through the trailer is I don't remember kids in the DC movies a whole lot. And so I thought this was an interesting scene where, there's this bright sunlight, well lit, and he's rescuing this child. I thought that was kind of interesting, that, there is a child in there in a pretty, like, this scene was awesome. Like, this visual was amazing.
Yeah. And even the weird thing about that is to brighten that scene up, the bottles are yellow, and anybody that's worked in industrial settings, they don't have yellow bottles. Everything's green or some kind of a rust red, but nitrogen, I guess, would be symbolized by yellow, but that's usually just the cap.
Yeah. So I do find that interesting that they are, lightening things up, and they do have a very important, great kid scene in it. Though the CGI, I'm not quite sure about on his face. When you watch it, it's kind of looks a little funky. But so, what are you guys thinking about the costume? Here's a photo that I found where here's what we saw from the set photos. Here's what the poster looks like, and it almost looks like it's two different costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the material's different.
Yeah. So I wonder if there isn't some sort of a gotcha, like some sort of a something changes, or if it's just this is a graphic designer with Photoshop and this is an iPhone photo from a building, and you missed those details. Though the yellow around the symbol, I mean, there it's obviously it's red, so
true.
It could be a goof up by the designer, or it could just be that something happens that changes things, because this also looks tighter too.
Well, we saw a snow scene and we saw a desert scene, so I'm wondering if these could be just different climate uniforms for him.
Yeah, that's
even though he couldn't feel it. I mean, he's the Man of Steel. He probably didn't care what temperature it is.
Right. Well, and then the other one might have been destroyed.
Yeah, and on the scene where he's walking into the building there, where he's under arrest, and they're throwing cans at him, the suit looks really darker there as well. I don't know if that's
Right.
after a fight or whatever, but yeah, that looks
Yeah.
like a more
Yeah.
professional suit for lack
Well,
of
the coloring of the scene is just dark.
yeah.
It's blue.
Yeah, I mean,
everything's
look
blue.
at
There's no black. It's all blue.
look at the cape. I mean, it's all darkened. The
Yeah.
symbol, it's hidden behind our faces, but it's all darkened and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, this version of the suit to me still just feels kind of bulky. The one that you showed there with the texture on the left looks like it has a little bit more potential, but I don't know. I'm still not quite sold on that suit.
Though in this photo, he does look very much like Smallville and Cavill mixed together. Like in
Yeah.
this photo, he totally looks like Tom Welling and Henry Cavill merged into forming a Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they did that the way they put the track together, merging the Cavill theme and the Reeve theme. Maybe they just mixed their faces as a subliminal thing.
Right. Well, and initially I thought they might have also been trying to go retro with it. And that's why maybe some of the costumes were the way they were, and maybe it was set in a different time than now, a different time period. And that's
Well,
why
you see there, she's holding a smartphone back there.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that changed that
Yeah.
theory. I thought, I was thinking, well, maybe that's the reason he's got undies and the costume is the way it is, because maybe it's a throwback or something more, older. But yeah, they're all holding iPhones in the teaser trailer that released a couple of days ago. So it's definitely set in modern era.
Yeah.
So
Do
what do you
you
guys think
have
of the curl?
Of the what?
The curl in his hair.
It's
Yeah,
not
that-
traditional enough
Yeah.
for me.
I'm with Paul. I think it looks placed. It just,
Yeah, it's more to the side instead of in the middle, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Brandon Routh, his Superman, where he would fly super fast and he would, do fights and whatever, and then he comes out of it and his hair's perfect and it's this on purpose curl down the front of his head, and I was like, oh, that looks so terrible. And so with Cavill, they did it differently. Like with Cavill, he had naturally curly hair, so that's the reason that curl came down originally, because it was just curly hair that got ruffled that formed that little thing, whereas this just feels like they got a hot iron, curling
Yeah,
iron.
yeah,
Just
because his
hold
hair
it
is
there,
definitely
yeah.
not curly. He has no curly hair. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that to me just I felt a little off-putting, like kind of took me out of the moment before
We'll call that the super curl.
Any other thoughts on that?
I personally,
It changed sides on him. The
I
curl
like
has
the
moved.
more
Continuity.
the more traditional Superman curl appeals to me more than what we saw in that last picture. But I don't know. We'll see. It probably won't be much of a distraction. I hope anyway.
No.
Well,
The suit is going to be more of a distraction than the curl.
Yeah. And Tony nailed the continuity error with his hair. The curl
Definitely.
changed sides and changed into like a little I don't know what that is.
It's like a circle.
So are any of you geek enough to know what Stag Industries is?
I think it's comic book accurate to the DC universe from what I've heard, but I'm not enough of a geek to know the details.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, neither am I. I do know that's significant for those that are into the Superman comics. They do know what that means, but I'm the same way. I don't really. So what do you guys think of these guys? Who are they?
Oh,
And what do you think of them?
That's Green Lantern.
That's Nathan Fillion playing Green Lantern there, and he's got a terrible haircut, which is
Yeah,
comic
that
book
chili bowl
accurate.
thing is. Let's hope that doesn't become a style in the summertime when this movie comes out.
Oh no.
They could
No,
do the
it
Larry
is.
Curly Moe
Man.
act with that haircut.
Yeah, that's chili bowl as it gets. Chili bowl with sideburn extensions. It could start an unfortunate trend.
I would think though that the diehards are going to absolutely love that. It's a
Yeah.
little like Gambit, who showed up in Deadpool, I guess, had the exact look from the comic, and the fans were just bananas for it because he had. I
Right.
mean, it was like they just took it right off the page, um, and so this looks like that might be inspired in that way. It's better than the
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds version of Green Lantern.
Yeah, I've seen the comics where he had kind of a chili bowl cut, but it was shaved on the side, so it was just like on top of his head. So
Mm.
this is like a
Yeah.
full chili bowl here.
And I guess that's like Hawkwoman over there on the left.
Yeah, Hawkwoman,
Yeah.
Hawkgirl. Yeah,
Okay.
they are going for very much comic book accurate with this. They're
Yeah.
not shying away it from his undies to these guys. It seems like they're not shying away from it just being a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think people are ready for that? Do you think they want that? Because then it starts feeling like it's the WB network, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you make this not feel like it's an extension of the Arrowverse or whatever, but I don't know. James Gunn, he got me with those. I mean, I thought the Guardians movies were among the best of the Marvel
Agreed.
universe. So they kind of had that almost like the first one kind of reminded me of Empire Strikes Back. This assembly of interesting characters going an adventure together, and I love that. So I'm hoping that he's capturing something that kind of feels like that. I live not far from Cincinnati, Ohio, where they filmed, and they filmed the building that was the inspiration for the Justice League in the Super Friends comic book. So I can't help but think that at some point they're going to end up in the Hall of Justice. That does look like what was in that Super Friends cartoon. So I got to imagine this vibe plays into that in some way. We'll have to see what happens there.
Something that's always concerned me about the DC universe, different from the Marvel universe, and you guys have talked about the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I referenced this earlier, is that, it took a long time for us to get to the Guardians of the Galaxy, but the DC universe always feels rushed to me. It's like they're trying to get to where Marvel is without taking their time to get there. And I just don't know if they would have started, for instance, in the Marvel universe with the Guardians of the Galaxy, how many consumers besides the pure comic book nerds would have embraced that. But the way that Marvel did it, starting with the Iron Man, very grounded, very real world, leading up to that, I think is a credit to their success. And I just wonder if DC is ever going to be able to imitate that, because it always sort of feels rushed.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Well, and with Marvel, with starting with Iron Man, like you said, with it being more real, something that just blew everybody's mind. It's still one of the best ones that's been made. Is it set the universe, and then once they set the universe or created the brand, then they had areas to play with. And that's when you got the Thor Ragnaroks, and you started getting more comedy into it. You started getting more variety into it once they set the universe and got people into it. Whereas DC has never successfully done that. And I think when they've been most successful is when they haven't created a universe. They've done standalones, like the first the Joker movie, the Penguin TV series, these little bits that are just, we're not creating a universe. We're just creating a great story. And when they've done the movies, you're absolutely right. They feel rushed. The story isn't developed. The effects might be cool. I think the actors that have played the lead roles, are fantastic. I think Ben Affleck is the best version of Batman that I've liked. Now, his movies and some of the costume things were a little questionable. I think Wonder Woman was amazing. I think Aquaman was great. I think the casting of somebody non-blonde haired, bearded thing, having an island type vibe to an Aquaman was just brilliant. But yeah, they just haven't been able to nail the universe. And I wonder if they're messing up by trying to create one.
Yeah, where DC has been successful is when they have gone small and they focused on the minutia of the characters, whether it's Batman or the Penguin, which is brilliant. And Marvel has been successful in going big. And so
Yeah.
now I think DC is trying to go big, and I hope they pull it off, but I'm just not sure yet.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that we've got so many characters in this movie that is Superman. So you've got Superman and Green Lantern here, and I don't know if there's both female and male, the Hawkwoman and Hawkman both. I don't know, but then Mr. What's his name that we were talking about in the last
Terrific.
Yeah. I hope they're not watering things down a little too much by having too many characters in sort of the new origin story of Superman, whatever that might be.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think they needed any other characters Superman's such a great foundational story for it could stand alone. It doesn't need other characters.
And that's always been the knock on Superman, right? Is that, the old Jerry Seinfeld joke, if you're Superman, why do you need these other heroes? Why do you need these other characters, right?
Yeah,
the answer is spin-offs. That's the answer.
Yeah. Well, merch. It's always about merch.
Yeah. You have to consider too that even Krypto's another character, that will have to be introduced in some way, and you have to build some sort of a story so that you care about whatever happens. But the interesting thing that you just said, which makes this trailer so interesting to me, is if you're Superman, why do you need anybody else? Well, the very beginning of the trailer is he, gets thrown to earth and he's bloody and he's,
right.
Lip is split and all of those things. And then there's that other scene where he's in a glass cage of some sort. He breaks out, but it looks like maybe he's going to need, obviously Krypto's coming to help him. Does that mean he needs bailed out by these other folks, which is sort of interesting? And what will they do with that?
And that's what strikes me as interesting about what I've seen so far in the trailer is that, the difficulty with Superman as a character, whether you go back to George Reeves, and I can remember that, the serials on television, Truth, Justice, and the American Way, and all of that is that Superman is Superman, right? He's perfect. He is moral. He doesn't have any dilemmas. He doesn't have any problems. But it seems in this version, they're presenting a Superman that has all of this godlike strength, but he's also having to deal with everyday issues. And that iconic poster that they released where he's putting his boots on, I thought that was a great marketing to sort of present the idea that in this version of Superman, you have a working class Superman, a working class superhero, right? He has all the problems of his life, but he still gets up every day, puts his boots on, and it goes great with the zeitgeist, right? Everything that's happening in America right now with the populist message, workers, all of that, it really is vibing. And so with all of my criticism and all my uncertainty, I think they've nailed that, and it's going to be interesting.
You've never really seen Superman suit up like this. Yeah. That was the first time we've ever seen Superman suit up.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I can't think of another instance where he did that ever, from the very beginning.
He puts his underwear on one leg at a time, just like this.
On the outside,
except over top of his pants. Yes.
Well, and going back to what you guys said about there being so many heroes in the team that's there, the Hawk Girl, the Mr. Terrific, the Green Lantern, all that. But also, if you look at the trailer, there's also a lot of big bads in it. Like there's a lot of enemies. You've got Lex Luthor, you've got this big creature, you've got the purple orb in the sky, you've got the guy in all black. I don't even know who that is at the very end. We can even play this while we're talking.
Yeah, from what I saw, that's supposed to be some sort of Superman clone. So he has all of the powers of Superman and may end up becoming like the Bizarro version of Superman.
Well, maybe when they captured him, maybe they got his DNA.
Yeah. We need the Bizarro Superman with the square face and all that stuff. Like that would have been fun.
I do like the way
they
I liked the way they disguised him being Superman by the hair, the llama hair across his forehead. I thought that was kind of
It was
brilliant because
that scene. If you rewind it, he is taller than everybody. You notice
Yeah,
that?
and
yeah,
that's as Superman should be, right? He
Yeah.
should tower over everyone, I think. I think
right,
that was the
right.
problem with Ben Affleck. He was actually taller than
Look
Henry
how much
Cavill.
taller. He's a good
Yeah.
foot taller than everybody in that shot.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that, but that there does it, you will not think that was Superman. I think that's a brilliant way to hide his identity is
Mhm.
by making him this ruffled mess with glasses, and I think that was a brilliant move and a great way to hide who he really is.
So he has to straighten his hair before he puts his suit on, I guess.
He flies really fast, and then the comb
Yeah.
just goes
That's it.
boing.
You got to get the product in, right? So
That's the secret.
Superman product, and that's another marketing merch.
There you
right?
go.
So what do you guys
Super
think about when they talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, what was the importance of showing that
I think it
I
was
think
just to
from the
show he's
people
got
who brought it
cred.
to you.
right here?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think.
it's like
Yeah.
here's a guy who knows how to put together a great movie.
It
And
does,
three
but
of
does it need it? I mean, if it's Superman, like, does it need? Are they sending a message here? Is this
Yeah, they're sending a message that this is going to be more like the Marvel movies that you
that's
enjoy.
it? That's what I'm hitting at. I'm thinking
yeah,
we're doing it
I
like Marvel styles. This is what this
Yeah.
is telling me.
yeah, I think it's sort of like it's in a way admitting, hey, we've never really figured this out, so we went and got a guy from Marvel who did 3 great movies to come direct our movie.
Did you guys see the last Deadpool?
Yeah.
He kept taking jabs at Marvel the entire movie. I think there was at least four jabs at him. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just want to point out here, I went back and watched the original Superman opening credits, and I watched the Man of Steel, and they kind of combined the two even in this text. So the opening credits of Superman are an outline of the type that sort of does this sort of 3D, like, light rays kind of thing. And then Man of Steel had text that sort of looked like this font, but with shimmery, shiny text or whatever. And it's like they overlaid the two styles on top of each other, which I thought just married up perfectly with what they did with the soundtrack. It was really brilliant, because in my head it was like I looked at this and I thought, oh, that's the text from the original Superman. But then it wasn't that. They make you feel like that. But then I looked at the other, and it's like you feel like you're remembering it, whether you're a Man of Steel fan or you're a Christopher Reeve Superman fan when you see that text, which I thought was
even like a Star Wars vibe here, because it grew out of the screen and came at us, and you got the stars in the background. I wonder if like some subconscious messaging there. But Paul, if you go back to the newsroom scene, I wonder if there's some Easter eggs that we didn't catch.
Oh, trust me, I looked at their computers trying to spot stuff.
Because that was a really busy scene, and I bet you there's things that we aren't paying attention to. Let's see.
Yeah, they do have modern computers, so it is very modern. The iPhones, it looks like just TV is going on. I think one of the earlier shots, it had news stuff going on there. Well, he's just looking up. I guess they've got multiple screens.
Yeah.
But I mean, even just that looks so like you would not read Superman. I think he's disguised it through his mannerisms, and even that hairdo. I think he's just disguised who he is really well.
We saw Lois Lane here and Clark Kent. Is Jimmy Olsen and Perry White around?
Yeah, in the teaser, let me pull that up. In the teaser, there is a scene where it opens up. There. So that's Jimmy Olsen. Now, did you hear the audio that time?
Yes. Where's Jimmy?
That's Jimmy Olsen, right?
Another
there.
interesting thing. Look,
to the
they're all
right of
wearing
Lois.
everything is earth tones. They're all wearing earth tones. The lighting is earth tones.
Kind of almost looks like that 70s vibe.
There's no bright color. It's like it's a muted earth tones.
Yeah, it's a throwback to the Christopher Reeve films for sure, as far as the feel and the colors.
Very much. I mean, that's when I first saw that. Initially, I thought, wait a second, when is this set? Because it has a kind of an 80s, 70s, 80s vibe to it. But then I saw the modern computers and the people holding phones, and I'm like, well, it's kind of an interesting blend of the two, because it's showing both vibes. And I don't know who the girl is with the blonde hair. I mean, it's a character that's standing out, but I don't know who that might
Yeah,
be.
there's got to be a reason she's standing out.
Yeah. But no, hasn't been any footage of is it Perry White?
Yeah.
Now the actor himself posted a selfie with a cigar.
Okay.
But in the trailers he's not seen. But in this here, so going through, it's very much retro vibe in the lettering. I think people have noticed stuff in the newspapers that kind of tie back into maybe some of the storyline. But yeah, going back to originally what I mentioned, I do like that they have kind of his dad, Mr. Kent, that it's not some guy that looks like he's from Yellowstone or whatever. Like it's
like an average dude.
Yeah, it's just an average dad, like an average farmer dad. And I thought that was kind of an interesting take, that they went there and didn't make it somebody super famous and handsome to match the beauty of Superman.
Or like Pierce Brosnan, like is his dad or something.
Yeah.
Well, so I couldn't help but wonder, like, where's mom at in this scene? I almost thought, gosh, are they going to do a reversal type thing where mom is gone and dad is here? I'm not sure that is the case, but it looked like he was mourning. And then I couldn't help but wonder if this whole thing is like somewhere near the Fortress of Solitude, because he says home and he begins to pull him across the ground. So I'm wondering, is he somewhere near it?
Flying,
he couldn't get all the way there, or I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, that scene there is so well shot and well framed, and I do like the framing of the visuals. Feel very, very nice in the way it's
comic booky
shot.
It looks like a comic book panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Though he could have snapped her head right off there if he wasn't careful.
Whoops.
Yeah, whoops. Like, look at that.
That's
I mean,
very cool scene.
That's dangerous for Superman to be doing that kind of business. But yeah, I noticed there are so many villains in this. There's Lex Luthor.
I'm used to Lex being older as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, go back on that. Go back on the glass scene if you can. There's somebody in the cell next to him, it looks like. I didn't know. See, there are people on either side of him in that glass box.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I don't know if they're prisoners in that scene, but it looks like.
Or fellow prisoners, maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe there's somebody over there.
There's somebody on the left, and it looked like there might have been somebody on the right. You only see him just for a second, but.
Oh.
And of course, he raises a Superman flag. So I wonder what. Like, it seems like there's so many like threads to this. Like there's that monster, there's this purple orb. There's them making out.
There was Ultron. Oh, sorry. Wait, wrong franchise.
Yeah, exactly. Like there seems to be like, how many movies are these? Because like, who is that robot thing in the Fortress of Solitude? Or at least that looks like the Fortress of Solitude.
That looks like the Fortress.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Look at all the crystal back there.
Yeah, it's lit up.
And is that a cape on this robot? Like,
sort of looks like it.
So I'm worried that they might be like throwing so much into this, like how are they gonna not make this feel like, oh, here comes the trilogy, it's not a complete story.
Everything crammed in.
Yeah. And they leave these open loops that just frustrate us for the next 12 months.
Does Superman have in the comic books a caretaker of the Fortress of Solitude that's a robot? It looks again like he's saying goodbye or mourning, somebody that he cares about or something that he cares about there in the fortress.
Yeah. Well, and who could do that damage then? That's the question too. Yeah. It's like, look, it looks like his suit's been already battle worn. So he's had a fight. He's not quite bloody yet, but he's had a fight, and then somebody destroyed the fortress. So seems like a lot of threads going on here.
Yeah.
and then who's that guy?
Yeah,
Like, it's
some
like,
creature.
yeah, yeah. And so they're throwing in a lot of stuff that, you wonder, like, what
I think that's that
now?
guy
Who's
from one of
this?
the Star Trek movies where he was stretching his face. What was that movie?
Yeah.
And then you've got battle-worn Lex Luthor as well, so
Yep.
was that some sort of and then you got this guy all in black that,
But that-
Scott, who did you say that was?
Yeah, that's from what I've read and from what I've watched, that's supposed to be some sort of clone of Superman, so that's why he's going toe to toe with him. It may end up being
Yeah.
Bizarro Superman.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely given a run for his money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think they are pouring a lot into even just the trailer of so many heroes and so many bad guys and so many enemies.
Yeah, this is a
that-
team versus team movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Which, golly, for being Superman reboot, it just feels like maybe it should have been more Superman oriented. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see, but I hope they didn't overpack it.
Yeah, well, and they said it's not an origin story.
No.
And so even like, what's this green stuff glowing over here happening?
Yeah.
So it's not an origin story. So they he's already embedded in the Daily Planet. He's already Superman. And so it's just kind of picking up like we already know. So they're not going that far back. But yeah, they are. They're just trying to, hey, now that we're doing it, let's just pack it all in. Is what it seems like.
Yeah, we may only get one of these. Let's put everybody in.
But what I understand is that this is sort of the start of a long arc, and it's different from the DC EU, the DC Extended Universe, and this is supposed to be the beginning of the DCU. So this is sort of a reboot, a resetting of that entire universe, from what I understand. So they're putting a lot of pressure on this movie. Because if it's not successful, what do they do, right?
Right. Well, and they're just, they're starting these characters that happened kind of in the previous DCU. Is they started these characters, they hinted at characters that never quite appeared, and nothing happened with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect them to do a bunch of character development on all those extra characters and villains. I mean, if we look at the superhero storyline, we saw there was some adversity. It looked like the public was against him. He had, Lex Luthor's probably going to be the primary, arch nemesis, and he probably has to recover his reputation with the public and then kind of go on that superhero journey. And then there's some big battle, and he's got to call his friends in. And I think that's when you start to see these people just appearing at probably near the end of the movie. And then it becomes
maybe.
like a fun game, like, oh, there's so-and-so and there's so-and-so, because I'm sure they didn't show all of them.
Or perhaps,
But,
I mean, if you look at the other superheroes, they seem to be dressed in a similar fashion. So I'm wondering if maybe there's some sort of team, maybe not the Justice League, and maybe they are the team that is tasked with handling all of the minor skirmishes. And then they're juxtaposed against Superman, who has to come in for the big things, or maybe, he's coming in to save them, and some sort of a fissure produces itself between the two groups.
Well, I can tell you, I'm going to put in my window here for just a second here. That's Union Terminal in Cincinnati, where I know that they shot, which again,
that looks like the Justice League.
Yeah. So it's like the Hall of Justice.
That definitely looks like it.
So it makes you wonder if maybe those other characters have already formed the Justice League or something, and maybe or maybe Superman's already a part of it or something. If it's not an origin story, but
I tell you what, though, of all the characters that they could choose, those four. I mean, what is it? It's Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, and Green Lantern. Was there another one? I mean, those are some.
It looked like
some lame heroes, right?
I think the Hawkman was on there in one scene as well. Like he was flying,
I think the flying scene was the Hawkman.
So they're both in there. The
Well, and
Hawk.
then you've got the clone as well, and the
Mhm.
behind the scenes stuff. You see, wasn't Superman handcuffed or something with the clone
Right.
walking
Yeah.
beside him or something?
Mhm.
So maybe like why do they hate Superman? And haven't we seen that before? That
Yeah.
the world turns on
Yeah.
Superman, he goes
Yeah.
into court and all
Mhm.
that stuff. So we've kind of seen that arc of everybody turns against him, so to speak.
Several characters in Marvel and DC have kind of gone through that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the adversity moment, right? You got to have the low point.
Right. Yeah. Which movie was it that they had Superman die and then he came back to life, and you're like, "There's no way he's dead in a Superman movie. That's too bit drastic of a down moment that he actually died." I think it was the Brandon movie where he died, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he did. Is that
Was
right?
that Justice League where they brought him back? Batman
Justice
versus
Well,
League
and that
is-
one too. Well,
and-
that one
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, who are we missing here? Yeah, there's the the suit. There's Hawkman and
Oh, yeah.
oh gosh, Wonder Woman.
Look at that!
and
Look
all
at
of
that building. That building is exactly what you showed us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
got the
that's why
Wonder
I pulled that
Twins.
up there. It's I figured with Crypto, and then the fact that they were shooting there, which has that old Super Friends vibe from the 80s, they were trying to do some sort of a throwback comic-y style thing. So I gotta think, and Guardians of the Galaxy has a little bit of a campy, it doesn't take itself too seriously, even
No,
though it's a
right.
Not at
great
all.
story. So
Yeah.
I just wonder if the vibe of this is going to have a little bit of that, quirky, if it's going to intentionally feel like comic booky and not, certainly doesn't look like it's going to be Man of Steel like, where it's very serious and
No.
And I'm wondering
gritty.
now that I think about it, that opening scene in the trailer where he's basically falling from the sky and then he's bleeding, and then he's handcuffed later. I wonder if there is a part of this where Superman loses his powers, right? Because why else
Mhm.
would he crash
He's
into the
bleeding.
earth? Why else would he be bleeding? Why else would he be handcuffed?
Yeah, I
My
think
money's
it's
on
going to be
Lex
comedy.
Luthor. Lex Luthor is going to figure out something with kryptonite and make a clone, and
Yeah.
then Crypto's going to save him or something.
He's got to go back to his home to get his powers back. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of comedy in there. I mean, if they're referencing Guardians of the Galaxy, that was a bunch of one-liners and zingers and really
Yeah.
witty comments. And you see some of the actions in there. I mean, we already made fun of the chili bowl haircut. That was probably intentional because it's kind of
Right.
humor break. And then even when they introduced the dog scene, the dog's kind of goofy. The dog's like hopping around and acting silly.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a serious dog,
Yeah, he's doing
And
a
the
playful
dog's wearing a
thing
cape,
around.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Dog's all playful and looking goofy instead of like sad dog because the owner's hurt,
Well, in the ensemble, the lady who plays Lois Lane and the actor who plays Jimmy Olsen are known for their comedy, and
Mhm.
so I'm guessing those comedy chops are probably part of the reason they got chosen as well. And so
Very.
so as a final rundown, what do you guys think? Is it going to be great? Is it going to be, Are they overfilling it? Are they making it feel like a crossover Arrowverse TV show? Or do you think they're going to, we're still fooled by it and we don't fully understand?
Superman is a really hard character to pull off. I mean, because there's what makes great television, what makes great movies, what makes great stories is the drama and the weakness and the vulnerability of the characters, and that's always been the issue with Superman. So my expectations of this movie are low. For one, it's Superman. He's never been really my favorite superhero, and number two, it's DC and not Marvel. But I've been pleasantly surprised before by DC. I thought that Justice League was relatively well done. I enjoyed it. We've mentioned Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and even some of the Ben Affleck Batman I enjoyed as well. So I think the jury is still out for me. I just think it's really difficult to pull off. It's really a difficult character. to put on the big screen, because it's either all or nothing, right? There's not a lot of nuance with that character, and there never really has been.
I just wanted to say I put up this character from Star Trek Insurrection. And that's what that guy reminds me of in that trailer. Like, I think he used the same makeup artist or same. He went to the same beautician.
Well, maybe it looks like him and Groot had a baby. That's what that character looks like.
that could be.
Tony, final take, or Jason?
I'm going to pre-order my tickets. You know, I want to go see it. I think it looks like it's going to be fun, but we've been burned so many times by DC. It's hard to know. It's hard to count on the fact that this could be a new and fun take. So I think my biggest concern, I love the way they brought the nostalgia together with the music and the text. And I can't help but wonder if that's just trailer music, or if we'll actually hear those themes in the real movie, if they'll hire somebody else and it'll have its own theme. I think it was brilliant though for the trailer. I think my biggest concern is what we've been talking about. There's so many characters, and this is reintroducing Superman to the world, right? So I hope the story doesn't become cumbersome because of all those other characters that you can't give all those characters enough time for us to fall in love with them, and still have it be about Superman. So what is that going to mean and look like? So that's my big takeaway and concern.
Yeah, I think it looks promising. I don't know much about the actor that's playing Superman. I've never seen him before, but I think he's got the visuals to be Superman. He's got the jawline. He looks like you would think someone was a comic book Superman.
Right.
And, one thing I did like about the entire trailer is I didn't see any hint of wokeness. They just kind of stuck to the classic 1950s, 1960s comic book theme. And I'm half Japanese, and you didn't see an Asian Superman appear just because they haven't had one yet. So I'm kind of glad they're kind of sticking to, the old fashioned type storylines, and, they didn't have like a black Green Lantern. It's like.
And for the record, Paul, I want to point out that Tony was the one that brought up wokeness, and not me.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, I mean, the movies have done well without it.
I will say this, right? That I mentioned this earlier. It is definitely playing to what's happening in the culture right now. We're on the heels of the election, the re-election of Donald Trump. And what has been Trump's message, right? America first. And if this is a throwback Superman, right? Superman is all about the United
Truth,
States.
justice, and the American way. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Red, white, and blue. And so it is definitely making an effort, at least in what we've seen so far, to appeal to that popular movement in the United States right now, for sure.
Yeah,
nailed it. I think the only miss though is that they're all still working for traditional media newspaper, and it's not a blogging, it's not a blogging organization. They're not working for social media or something like that. Because
that is a good point. It could have been a social media thing. That would have been a modern spin for it. But
you can't. You got to wonder how many newsrooms are filled with that many people anymore at a newspaper.
They're all like doing streaming and stuff like that now. You're right.
Yeah,
that is a good point. I think the movie industry is kind of also seen from examples like Top Gun Maverick. That was kind of a pivotal movie. It had zero wokeness, very patriotic, set records because of the story. And it kind of shows like, hey, we don't have to go crazy on story. Just make it a good story and people will come see it no matter what it is. So I think Superman, look from the trailer, like seems like they're on that track.
Yeah. And I think that's what's been missing, is I think Scott brought it up, is they've rushed it. So many DC movies, they've rushed it, and it just didn't feel finished. It didn't feel like a cohesive story. And so hopefully they're spending time on story. But as Jason mentioned, man, if this is just like fan service and the geeks and the nerds will get it, and everybody else is like, wait, who's that? And what power do they have?
Yeah.
Like if they've got so many characters, you don't have time to explain all that. And so it means people are just going to have to enjoy the ride and maybe ask the questions later, and maybe not have to worry that they don't know who's who and why they hate them and why they're for them. And if they're going to have to do a lot of exposition, then that kind of messes up. If they're going to have to just have this weird dialogue where they're having to give exposition on who's who and why they care and what they're about and why you should like them. So they've got a big challenge ahead of them in a lot of ways, but it seems like they've just put so much in it, so many good guys, so many bad guys. And, some, like I think Tony, you mentioned maybe some stuff they bring in at the end, and
they're in good hands though. Think about it. I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise was a pretty big group of characters.
Yeah.
And the first movie did really well at developing every single character. So you kind of related who they were and how they interacted. And, one of them's dumb, one of them's a wise ass, one of them's pessimistic, one's optimistic. And, that was just a normal length movie. And they did a really good job. So I think the same people being in charge understand character development.
Well, going back, Tony, to what you said in that, why did they have to say that? For me, that gives me a lot of optimism. Like those three movies were really, I love
those movies. Those movies are awesome.
All three of them were solid. All three of them were really good. The last one really surprised me in how much of an emotional connection I felt in the story that was told
to CGI characters.
And
dude, it was brutal.
So
they also lured us in. They also lured us in, Paul, because think about this. We are Gen Xers, and the soundtrack of those movies is badass. There's emotion built into every scene through our ears.
The electric guitar, John Williams version.
Awesome soundtrack.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I feel like with James Gunn behind it, I go in with a lot more optimism than if this was just some DC director that they, Zack Snyder has done some okay things, but for me, the Snyderverse was not as cracked up. Wasn't I'm also Gen Xer, so I grew up with Christopher Reeve was my Superman, and Paul and I had another conversation where I actually kind of liked the nostalgia of the Brandon Roth Superman because
I hated it.
He sort of captured. No, I get it. That was a movie that I think you either loved it or you hated it. I don't think there are a lot of people in the middle, but I kind of liked that it felt like we got another Christopher Reeve, and that's not probably what should have happened, but it was like he sounded like him. He kind of looked like him. It felt like a continuation of that story, and it went from the first Superman to 2, and then they ignored the other bad sequels, and this was supposed to be like the third one in that series. But anyway, I don't know.
There's a throwback though. I was reading some comments on the YouTube, and someone said that Christopher Reeve's son appears in the movie as like a reporter or something like that.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay. He's a reporter in real life, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So final rating out of 10.
Yeah, and all of this is happening. I'll just add, on Max is running that Christopher Reeve documentary right now, so the nostalgia is in the air. 1 out of 10. It depends on if I see the movie, but based on the trailer and everything, I'm still in the middle. So I'll just say
same.
5.
I'm a 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6 or 7 myself.
I would
only because all superhero trailers kind of look the same.
Yeah. I'm at 5. I would need to see the second trailer to maybe go up or down on that, but music wise, amazing. I think the actor is a likable actor, and I think that's key. If your lead actor is not a likable actor, I think that suffers. I think he's got likability. I think Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, both of those actors, I've seen them very likable. So the cast, I think they've nailed the cast. But I've got to feel that they wrap up the story somehow, because you're right. Guardians did have a lot of characters, so I'm confident in that. Zack Snyder has visuals. He's a graphic designer's artist, idol because of his visuals. It's just so amazing. But story just wasn't as much there in character development. So I think with the lead right now is a storyteller and has ensemble cast under his belt, successful ones. So. Based on the trailer, 5, my hope is maybe at the same level of, where it could be, maybe even a little higher, just because of what we've got going into it. But we'll see, man. We'll see the next trailer. See what it does.
We'll
I
have
think
to go watch the movie and do a recap on this to see
Yeah,
how
yeah,
our
Yeah,
predictions
what
line up.
what city are we meeting in to go watch the movie?
That would be
I
awesome.
I think for me, the music was so powerful. That's probably why I'm like 6.
That's the
I'm
Gen
probably more.
Xer
I'm
thing. They're
probably.
getting us
I'm probably.
already. See?
Yeah, I'm probably at like a 6 because of the music,
Yeah.
and I love the throwback with the text, and then you know, yeah. I don't know, that hit me hard, so I think that's where I'm grading on a curve because of the music.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No. Good chat.
All right.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Well, we'll do more of
We'll see
these.
you
It'll
in
be
July.
different topics. Yeah, it'll be we'll do other more of these, and we'll do them on different topics and have lead category people to lead it. But this will be fun. So thank you guys for doing this. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll check in afterwards and see how right we were. Did it surpass our hopes, or did it kind of align with where we thought it would be? Take care, guys. Have a good one.
Good night.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.